Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Early Grades Student Growth Portfolio Purpose, Process, and Platform Training Presentation. My name is Laura Cassidy, and I am a Title I teacher in Sumner County. Over the summer, I have worked as a teaching fellow for the Tennessee Department of Education. I have been a kindergarten teacher for 8 years, and I have also served as a portfolio leader and a peer reviewer. Before student growth portfolios were introduced, teachers in non-tested grades were assigned evaluative growth scores based on metrics that were often out of their immediate locus of control. I'm going to remind everybody to please mute yourself and stay muted throughout the presentation. Let's see. We were talking about the Best for All plan. So the portfolio process allows non-tested teachers to demonstrate student growth that occurs in their own classroom with their own students. This growth is evaluated by peers intimately familiar with the standards and grade level context. This process helps contribute to a high-quality education for all and helps Tennessee to be the top state to become and remain a teacher. In this presentation, we will explore the purpose and process of the Tennessee Student Growth Portfolio for the early grades. We will dive deeply into the structure of the portfolio and how to create a high-quality portfolio to submit for review. We will also discuss the support available for teachers throughout the portfolio process and walk through the portfolio platform. You may want to have Team Portfolio Guidebook for administrators and teachers, the Team Portfolio Resource Guide for the early grades, and the scoring rubrics specific to your grade level handy, as we will be referring to all of these throughout the presentation today. If you are participating in this presentation as a live event today, you may pose questions using the chat feature. The department will publish an FAQ that answers your questions on the team website as a follow-up to this presentation. Please access the portfolio resources relevant to your assignment now, as they will be referenced throughout the presentation. Those resources are available on the state website currently. First, let's explore the purpose and benefits of implementing student growth portfolios. The student growth portfolio allows non-tested teachers to show academic growth of the students in their classroom and provides an opportunity for teachers to take personal ownership of that growth. Student growth is evaluated by peers intimately familiar with the standards and grade level context. Portfolios help teachers reflect on their instructional practices, group students for differentiated learning, and to see student growth in authentic instructional tasks. Not only are students growing throughout the year, but through reflection of their instructional practices, teachers can too. As teachers, leaders, instructional coaches, principals, and district personnel explore and implement the contents of the following materials, it is recommended that they do so within a professional learning community, or a PLC, or other collaborative group that focuses on long-term and short-term planning, ongoing formative assessment, standards-based instruction, differentiated and targeted instructional practices, and student work. The art of analyzing student work when grounded in collaborative thinking, self-reflection, and differentiated instruction can have a profound impact on student academic growth. The portfolio process allows non-tested teachers to demonstrate student growth that occurs in their own classroom with their own students. The student growth score is essential in generating a teacher's level of overall effectiveness, or LOE. Observations comprise 50% of an educator's LOE, 15% of the LOE is student achievement, and the student growth portfolio makes up the remaining 35%. Let's discuss in depth the structure of Team Student Growth Portfolio, how to create a high quality portfolio, the portfolio options and standards available for ELA and math, the collection of work samples, scoring, and more. Please access the standards and scoring rubrics associated with your grade level. The Tennessee Student Growth Portfolio consists of 4 collections of student work, 2 ELA and 2 mathematics. Within each collection, you will submit 2 student work samples from the same student, point A and point B, for each of the differentiated groups, emerging, proficient, and advanced. For one collection, let's say the literature and narrative collection, you will submit point A and point B work for 1 emerging student, 1 proficient student, and 1 advanced student, making a total of 6 submitted work samples for the literature and narrative collection. You'll follow the same process for the informational and explanatory collection in ELA and both math collections, for which specific domains may vary depending on your grade level. Though there is no requirement to do so, varying the students whose work is used among different collections presents a more comprehensive picture of the growth occurring in your classroom. However, with smaller class sizes, it may be necessary to use the same student for an ELA collection and a math collection. Access page 6 of the Portfolio Guidebook for administrators and teachers. Notice the bullet points that relate to practices you do on a normal basis to prepare for instruction and assessment in your classroom. Notice the bullet points that relate to practices specific to the portfolio that you do not do on a normal basis to prepare for instruction and assessment in your classroom. Reflect on how much of the portfolio process is something you already incorporate into your routine, and what of the portfolio process is new to your routine and/or specific to the student growth portfolio. If you are participating in this training with a group, please take a moment to discuss your reflection now. You can also use time later after the presentation. The options available for the ELA portfolio include a cluster of 3 standards: 1 foundational standard, 1 reading standard, and 1 writing standard. Teachers choose 1 of 3 available literature and narrative options and 1 of 3 available informational and explanatory options. Within each grade level, the foundational standard is the same across all 6 options, and the writing standards only differ between genres. The reading standard changes from option to option. Please note that if you are a departmentalized teacher and only teach ELA, you should select 4 of the available options, 2 literature and narrative options, and 2 informational and explanatory options. Please find the options available for your grade level in the Team Student Growth Portfolio Resource Guide for the early grades, beginning on page 11. Take a moment to read and think through the ELA options available for your grade level. Think about tasks you already use that could also be used for the portfolio in the options that you choose. What tasks could you create or find for options that you choose? Reflect by yourself or share with others. While you are reading through the options available for your grade level, be sure to note the standards that use phrases such as with prompting and support or orally. We will discuss what this might mean for scoring that standard in ELA-specific guidance, ELA-specific scoring guidance portion of our presentation later. The options available for the math collections in the portfolio include a single standard. You will choose 2 standards from different domains such as counting and cardinality, operations and algebraic thinking, numbers and base 10, and measurement and data. Each grade level has different requirements of domains from which to choose standards. This is explained in the grade-specific information we will discuss in a moment. Please note that if you are a departmentalized teacher and only teach math, you should select 4 of the available standards. Here are the grade level specific options. They are also listed in the Team Student Growth Portfolio Resource Guide for the early grades on pages 18 through 21. Pre-K teachers should choose 1 counting and cardinality standard and 1 operations and algebraic thinking standard. Kindergarten teachers should choose 1 counting and cardinality standard and 1 standard from either operations and algebraic thinking or numbers and base 10. First grade teachers should choose 1 operations and algebraic thinking standard and 1 numbers and base 10 standard. Second grade teachers should choose 1 numbers and base 10 standard and 1 standard from either operations and algebraic thinking or measurement and data. Take a quick moment to think through the math options available for your grade level. Think about tasks you already use that could be used for the portfolio and standards that you choose. What tasks could you create or find for standards that you choose? We'll take a few moments here for you to read through the math standard options available for your grade and to reflect by yourself or share with others. Again, you can take time after the presentation to work through some of these, and this presentation is being recorded, so you'll be able to view the presentation again through the department's YouTube channel after it is published. After identifying the options and standards you would like to use for your portfolio collections, it is time to begin collecting student work samples. Point A work samples should be collected at the onset of the learning related to the standards being taught. Standards aligned tasks should be designed to allow students to demonstrate mastery or growth towards mastery of the standard or standards. After collecting your Point A work samples, score them according to the related content specific rubrics. Then you will sort the student work into 3 differentiated groups: emerging, proficient, and advanced. Differentiated grouping is the term used to describe the 3 levels of student groups: emerging, proficient, and advanced. Emerging students typically score below level 3. Proficient students typically score at level 3, and advanced students typically score above level 3. It is important to keep in mind that level 3 is the end of grade level expectations. Because the collections in ELA include multiple standards, teachers should group students into an overall category of emerging, proficient, or advanced based on the collective performance on the 3 standards: foundational, reading, and writing. This categorization should be determined by totaling the 3 individual scores and using that total to rank order the artifacts. Teachers do, of course, have the flexibility to use their own professional judgment to make adjustments during categorization by considering their knowledge of students. Often, Point A student work artifacts demonstrate little variance in performance levels. For example, all students may score at level 1 or 2 at Point A. In these instances, the task-specific expectations should be utilized. along with teacher judgment and possibly various other assessment data, to categorize the student work artifacts into differentiated groups. At the completion of the learning of the same standard used for point A, the teacher should administer a standards-aligned task to collect work samples for point B. The point B student work samples should assess the same standard as point A and be scored according to the same rubrics used for point A. The teacher will then conduct purposeful sampling. Purposeful sampling is the process of selecting student work for inclusion in the portfolio collections. This means the teacher will determine which student work sample pairs, points A and B, to submit for each of the differentiated groups of a portfolio collection. The student work chosen for each differentiated group should be representative of the growth within that differentiated group. For example, there are 5 students in the emerging group at point A. 3 students grow 2 performance levels from point A to point B, and 2 students grow 1 performance level from point A to point B. The teacher should select a sample to submit in which the student grew 2 performance levels. The teacher will repeat this process for each of the other differentiated groups, proficient and advanced, within this one portfolio collection. The teacher will then follow the same procedure for selecting students for the other 3 portfolio collections using the associated rubrics. Please note that if you are a transitional classroom teacher, the work submitted within a collection must represent 1 grade level in standards-based collection. However, different collections can represent different grade levels. For example, if you are a pre-K and kindergarten transitional teacher, you may choose to submit 2 pre-K collections and 2 kindergarten collections. For more information on transitional classroom teachers, please refer to page 6 of the Team Student Growth Portfolio Resource Guide for the early grades. For the purposes of the student growth portfolio, student work can include, but is not limited to, written student work, video segments that demonstrate student performance or speaking, audio recordings of student conversations or think-alouds, or photographs of student work. Teachers are encouraged to store student work locally throughout the year, but also have the option to upload student work artifacts into the online platform at any time. Additionally, teachers may choose to store student work digitally. Google, Dropbox, Box, and OneDrive are all compatible with the Team Portfolio platform, Portfolium. Teachers should check with their district about approved online storage platforms. The deadline to submit all 4 completed collections is 11:59 p.m. local time on May 1st. Before clicking the Submit button, carefully check all of the following. Ensure that all point A work is from the same student as point B work. Ensure that the emerging, proficient, and advanced work is from 3 different students. Ensure that each piece of student work is available and working, including pictures, PDFs, and audio video. Ensure that no student work is duplicated or uploaded twice, either for 2 different students or the same work for point A and point B. And ensure that all work submitted within one collection refers to the chosen standard. Scoring rubrics are a critical part of planning and measuring student learning. Teachers can use the rubrics to understand the types of performance seen in student work at varying levels, to categorize student work into performance levels, and to identify the types of performance that indicate progress for instructional planning. ELA and math-specific rubrics are available according to your grade level. Remember, both point A and point B student work should be scored with the same rubric within each collection. All early grade rubrics have performance levels 0 through 7. Levels 0, 1, and 2 demonstrate work below grade level expectations. Level 3 shows work at grade level expectations. And levels 4, 5, 6, and 7 show work above grade level expectations. More specifically, level 0 represents student work that does not demonstrate any competencies of the standard, which allows teachers that grow students from level 0 to level 3 to receive the maximum benefit in scoring. At the other end of the rubric, levels 6 and 7 allow students at an advanced level at point A an opportunity to demonstrate growth from point A to point B. However, educators should utilize appropriate instructional practices that meet students where they are developmentally and academically. It is not an expectation of students to score at levels 6 or 7 because they are above grade level expectations. It is important to continuously remember that level 3 is grade level expectations. However, these levels are available for students who are growing above grade level. Educators will not be penalized for growing students to levels 6 and 7 at point B. However, it is not a requirement that all students reach levels 6 and 7 on the rubric. More information about the scoring rubrics is available in the Team Portfolio Guidebook for Administrators and Teachers on pages 8 and 9, and in the Team Student Growth Portfolios Resource Guide for the early grades on pages 9 and 10 for ELA and page 17 for math. Once collected, each piece of student work should be self-scored for each standard in the chosen option: foundational, reading and writing within the literature and narrative, or informational and explanatory collections, according to the associated rubrics. This will generate 3 separate scores at point A and 3 separate scores at point B for each student. Remember that performance at level 3 indicates the student is performing at grade level expectations. Levels 0, 1, and 2 indicate that the student is performing below grade level expectations and is typically categorized as emerging. Levels 4 through 7 indicate the student has exceeded grade level expectations and is typically categorized as advanced. The 3 scores from the point A artifact will be compared to the 3 scores for the point B artifact to determine the overall score for the standards-based collection. Remember that each ELA student work artifact is scored on 3 standards: foundational, reading, and writing, at both point A and point B. While graphic organizers are important learning tools that assist students in organizing content and ideas, the goal of the standards in most cases is that students integrate this knowledge and understanding to demonstrate the standards. In pre-K and kindergarten, the use of graphic organizers in teacher modeling is an integral part of instruction. It is okay for students to use graphic organizers as they complete tasks. However, they are not considered authentic student work artifacts aligned to the standards and cannot be scored as such. It is important to upload the student writing sample, not the graphic organizer. In first grade, however, the reading standards for option 2 in the literature and narrative collection and option B in the informational and explanatory collection ask students to use graphic organizers or written details and illustrations to show mastery of the standard. In this case, the purpose of the graphic organizer is to provide the student with a tool that can assist in moving toward more independence in the craft of writing, but is still not considered an authentic student work artifact. It is still important to upload the student writing sample, not the graphic organizer. Some standards and descriptors in the scoring rubrics include the phrase pictures and/or words. This phrase is meant to represent the wide continuum of developmental writing. It encompasses all the developmental writing stages at which a student might approach a task. When the term writing is used in guidance around the portfolio in some of the additional resources, it refers to all stages of emerging developing writing, including pictures. In the case of descriptors stating pictures and/or words, pictures, dictation, letters, words, and/or any combination of these are accepted as an authentic student work artifact. Dictation allows a student to orally tell about the artifact they created. Though writing in pre-K and kindergarten is emergent, Students must produce a written piece that may include a combination of drawing, dictation, and written words. More information can be found in the Team Student Growth Portfolio Resource Guide for the early grades on page 16. Because oral language precedes written expression, capturing evidence of reading comprehension solely through student writing may not always be possible. In pre-K and kindergarten, reading standards sometimes include the word orally. This means the student can tell more about his or her work that may not be drawn or written on the student work artifact. When scoring the student work on the reading standard, an oral response about the written piece can be used in conjunction with the written piece to determine the performance level on the reading scoring rubric. Thus, for pre-K and kindergarten, it is important to consider the oral component that teachers can capture through dictation, audio, or video, along with the student work that is written. However, for first and second grades, the student's writing artifact should determine and demonstrate the student's ability to comprehend and is used to determine the performance level on the reading scoring rubric. As tasks drive student work, submissions may vary in appearance and structure. Student work may be approached and should be approached in a natural manner, so it is not necessary for the student to explicitly state the language found in the descriptors of the rubric. For example, when the standard asks the student to demonstrate knowledge about the characters, setting, and events, the student does not have to write or say, the characters are, the setting is, the events are. The expectation is that the students should naturally draw, write, and or talk about these elements in their work. The rubrics are not a guide for teaching. However, it is critical to stay grounded in the rubric descriptors while scoring. Be sure to state the title and author of the text used to generate the student writing artifact on the context narrative for each ELA collection. More information on the context narrative will be discussed in the platform presentation. The math scoring rubrics measure only one standard each. They are not integrated like the ELA options. However, or therefore, each piece of student work in math will have only one score. Due to standard content and developmentally appropriate tasks, audio and or video may provide pre-K and kindergarten math standards the means by which to collect evidence. Videos are not required for student work evidence in math. However, if the standard requires that a student say something, then it is important that evidence allows the student's words to be heard, such as audio or video. As students progress into first and second grades, opportunities to share their thinking on paper is more prevalent. However, it is still critical for teachers to consider the best way to capture evidence as directed by the content that lies within each standard. To scaffold tasks for students, start with the tasks at level 3. Then you can move up or down the rubric as needed for the student to demonstrate mastery of the standard. Students may be given the same contextualized problem at point A and point B, as long as the problem is used only as a part of authentic assessment of standard mastery. The exact problem should not also be used for daily instruction. This process is similar to other testing environments, wherein a test question or situation is altered slightly to demonstrate the concept being taught and then applied to a similar but not exact copy for assessment. After submissions are complete, collections will be scored by peer reviewers who are intimately familiar with the standards, rubrics, and grade level content. These peer reviewers will use the same rubrics as did the teachers for points A and B. These rubrics are auto-populated by the platform for the peer reviewer according to the standard or option chosen by the teacher. If a discrepancy of more than one performance level exists between the teacher's score and peer reviewer's score for the average of a collection, the second peer reviewer will score that collection. If the second peer reviewer's score is in consensus with either the teacher or the peer reviewer, the score in consensus stands. If there is no consensus of scores between the teacher, the first peer reviewer, or the second peer reviewer, Then an expert reviewer conducts the final scoring. This information is detailed in the Team Portfolio Guidebook for administrators and teachers on page 9. It is critical that teachers check and double check the work they submit. Peer reviewers will score a differentiated group as level 1 if any of these things occur. If no growth is demonstrated, the work receives a score of 1. If the same student work is uploaded at point A or point B, point A and point B, or the same student's work is uploaded in 2 or more differentiated groups within a collection, the score is a 1. If student work is missing, the peer reviewer will score that group as a 1. If the task and student work is not aligned with the standard or cluster of standards chosen, the work receives a score of 1. If the work is not produced by the student, the work will receive a score of 1. And if the audio, video, and/or picture of student work is not available, this work will receive a score of 1. After uploading each collection, go back and ensure none of these things occur. Something as simple as accidentally uploading the wrong student's work can result in a lower score. Now let's explore the process of calculating both the student growth score and the individual teacher's level of effectiveness. The teacher's portfolio calculates as 35% of the LOE in 10 Compass. These scores are auto-calculated by the portfolio platform from the peer reviewers' scores. Here we have an example of student scores for points A and B, as well as the growth score for each differentiated group within one collection. The emerging student for this collection scored at level 1 for point A and level 3 for point B, which gives this student growth of 2 levels. The proficient student in this collection scored at level 2 for point A and level 4 for point B, which gives this student growth of 2 levels. The advanced student for this collection scored at level 2 for point A and level 5 for point B, which gives this student growth of 3 levels. For the ELA collection, which contains 3 standards and therefore 3 scores at each point in time, the scores are averaged to give an overall point A or point B score to be used to calculate the growth in each differentiated group. The growth of each differentiated group within one collection is then added together and divided by 3 to calculate the average growth for that one collection. As you can see here, the differentiated groups levels of growth were added together for a total of 7, and then divided by 3 to get the average growth of this collection to be 2.33 levels of growth. That average of 2.33 levels of growth is then compared to the student growth indicator chart seen here. This chart is also available in the Team Portfolio Guidebook for administrators and teachers on page 10. As you can see, the 2.33 levels of growth for this collection corresponds to student growth at level 4, which is above expectations. This indicator states that students demonstrate, on average, 2 levels of student growth, but less than 3 levels of student growth in one collection. This process is repeated for the other 3 collections of the portfolio. Once all 4 collections have gone through calculations to determine the student growth score, it is time to calculate the teacher's effectiveness score, which will determine 35% of his or her overall LOE. As you can see here, we have student growth scores calculated for all 4 collections. Collection 1's student growth score is at level 4. Collection 2's student growth score is at level 4. Collection 3's student growth score is at level 3, and Collection 4's student growth score is at level 3. These 4 scores of student growth are then averaged and compared to the teacher effectiveness indicator chart. The average of the student growth scores for these 4 collections is 3.5, which corresponds to level 4 because it is between 3.40 and 4.19. This teacher's portfolio teacher effectiveness score is a level 4. That is the score that will calculate into their overall LOE as 35%. Observations will account for 50%, and the selected achievement score will account for the remaining 15% of the overall LOE calculated in TN Compass. Distance learning may be a reality for many teachers implementing the student growth portfolio for the early grades. Distance learning is often conducive to collecting evidence of student work to be uploaded to a digital platform. All recommended methods of collecting student work artifacts remain relevant in an online learning space. Recorded virtual meetings, screenshots, or other software applications may provide avenues for capturing student work. With further questions or for guidance, please consult the rubric, scoring notes, standards, the Team Portfolio Guidebook for Administrators and Teachers, the Team Student Growth Portfolio Guide for the early grades, this training presentation, and any other available resources at team-tn.org/portfolio-resources. It is sometimes helpful to confer and discuss these topics with a teaching partner. You can also contact your district portfolio lead or email portfolio questions at tn.gov. We have now completed the purpose and process of our training presentation. We will move into our training about the platform in just a moment. All right, as we transition into our platform portion of the presentation, I just want to remind everyone to make sure that you stay muted throughout the presentation. Okay, the platform with whom the department collaborates for student growth portfolio implementation is Portfolium. Portfolium is an easy-to-use platform on which to upload, review, and calculate student growth scores. We will walk step by step through several actions to help you feel more comfortable using the platform. Before we dive into the platform itself, let's discuss technology requirements. Chrome and Firefox are the best browsers for Portfolium access. However, Microsoft Edge is also supported. It is advised to not use Internet Explorer because it is not a supported browser. Portfolium supports multiple file formats.
Hi, I'm Miss Smith. I teach pre-K. I don't have an Ivy badge. Thank you.
Hold on just a moment, everyone.
You are Miss Smith. I teach preschool.
Pre-K?
Okay.
I'm Skylar Burton.
Nice to meet you.
You two, you here last year?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can put and then down this information.
I just shoot it.
And you do not have, you don't have one at all.
I don't have one at all.
Give me your name.
Ashley Smith. Do I need to like go to the thing up and get one, or do you know?
Well, here. I think I don't know if this is key.
Sounds. Thank you. Oh, do you want this?
Oh,
Oh. The others.
Okay,
Thank
just
you.
another reminder to keep yourself on mute, everyone. And we're going to move on to the login part of our presentation. Before gaining access to the Portfolium website, your district portfolio lead will create and submit a roster of all teachers implementing the student growth portfolio in your district. You will then receive an email with a direct link and information about logging in for the first time. This email and information it contains is personal to you. Do not forward this email to other portfolio users. The first time you visit the Portfolium website, you will be asked to log in and register for the current year.
Pretty good.
When you register, you are asked hold on one moment. Sorry, everyone. All right, let's start again on the login information. Before gaining access to the Portfolium website, your district portfolio lead will create and submit a roster of all teachers implementing the student growth portfolio in your district. You will then receive an email with a direct link and information about logging in for the first time. This email and information it contains is personal to you. Do not forward this email to other portfolio users. The first time you visit the Portfolium website, you will be asked to log in and register for the current year. When you register, you are asked to select the year, your role, your portfolio model, and your collections, and we will walk through this process now. After logging in, you are asked to select the year and your role. The current school year is shown here. Select the role of teacher to move on to the next step. Next, select which student growth portfolio model you will be submitting. For example, if you are a first grade teacher, you will select first grade. If you are a first grade departmentalized teacher and only teach either ELA or math, select one of those options. I have selected kindergarten for the example of this presentation. Once you have selected your portfolio model, you will be able to choose your collections. Remember, all pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade models include the literature and informational ELA standards. The 2 math collections depend on the domains available for your grade level. Please refer to the Early Grades Resource Guide, the Early Grades presentation, or confer with your district portfolio lead as needed for support with selection. Hooray, you have completed the registration process in Portfolium. Here you can see your ELA options are ready for you to start working on. And if you scroll down, you can see the math collections are also ready to be worked on. Now click on the collection title, which will take you to this screen. This is where we will choose the rubrics that you want to use for scoring your student work and put your information in your context narrative. Click on Scoring Rubric to bring up a screen and list to choose which standard or cluster of standards you want to use for self-scoring student work. For Scoring Guide, select the portfolio model or collection you are working on. Select the standard or cluster of standards under Scoring Rubric. Because literature is the collection standard, the options will be option 1, option 2, and option 3. Other options will be available in different collections. After selecting the appropriate rubric or rubrics, return to the collection screen to begin working on your context narrative. You may choose to begin working on the context narrative early in the year, or you may choose to wait until you are ready to upload and score all of your students' work. Whenever you are ready to work on this, simply clicking on Context Narrative will take you to a text box in which to write the information peer reviewers need to know in order to score your students' work. When you complete your context narrative, be sure to type in all the information the peer reviewer needs to know about the collection, both at points A and at point B. Here are some basic questions you may want to answer within your context narrative. You can even copy and paste these questions into your context narrative so that you remember what questions to answer. Here you can see the copied text from the web page to describe what should be included in the context narrative and an example of literature and narrative context form. Be sure to include all relevant information pertaining to the task and students' work submitted for the entire collection. This includes information for both points A and B, as well as information concerning individual students. Here you can see an example layout of the text, task, and information on the videos. Information about your class or students' backgrounds is not necessary. Let's look through the example context narrative for literature and narrative. Again, this is only an example and was not written to pertain to any particular students or classroom. After copying and pasting the needed information into the context narrative, you can answer each question and delete the information from the web page when you have it completed. Be sure to tell about points A and point B, as well as if you use different texts or tasks for different children. For example, for point A, the text Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon by Penny Lovell. For point B, only the emerging student used the text Goldilocks and the Three Bears, retold by Jan Brett, and the proficient and advanced students used the text The Three Billy Goats Fluff by Rachel Mortimer. The task for both point A and point B for all students, regardless of text, write words and draw pictures to retell the story. Again, this is just a generic task that loosely relates to one of the literature and narrative options. The task you describe in number 2 should describe the task that you give your students based on the option and standards you've chosen in Portfolium. Number 3 has to do with start and stop times for video or audio you may include. If the entire audio and video source is necessary to fully score the artifact, You may not need to fill this out, or you could just mention that the full audio or video is necessary for accurate scoring. If each student has an audio or video source in point A and in point B, you need to break down specifics for each student at each point. This could get lengthy, but that information could be valuable to your peer reviewer for accurate scoring. If you do not include audio or video sources in addition to the student writing artifact, you could answer this question with not applicable. For number 4, there is more information. If there was more information that was not asked in the previous 3 questions, you can address that here, or you can answer with a not applicable. This is an example about clarifying a difference between the traditionally told Goldilocks story and the one retold by Jan Brett. Traditionally, Papa Bear's bed is too hard and Mama Bear's bed is too soft. However, in the story retold by Jan Brett, Papa Bear's bed is too high at the head and Mama Bear's bed is too high at the feet. This is a difference that peer reviewers would want and need to know to accurately score the student work samples. Let's look at another way to set up your context narrative. This time, we will use task examples from the ELA informational and explanatory options. Again, you should look at the 4 pieces of information that need to be included in your context narrative for your peer reviewer to accurately score the student work. Here, you can see the point A information together with the point B information together. This is just another example of how you can set up your context narrative. For the informational and explanatory student work artifacts, there are no videos, so the teacher has written not applicable to answer question 3. Also, no information was needed. No additional information was needed, so question 4 is also answered with not applicable. The context narratives for math are slightly different. Again, you can copy and paste the information on the platform into your context narrative to remember what information needs to be given to the peer reviewer in order to accurately score your students' work. Now let's look at an example of a context narrative for a math standard. Here you can see the task is explained by the tasks on the rubric. Alternatively, you can list the task or create a task for the standard and explain it here. For sample A, this teacher asks the peer reviewer to watch the full videos for all students, but gives more specific times and video numbers for sample B. Both are acceptable. If you don't use audio or video, you can simply write not applicable. When you are ready to upload your students' work, click on the appropriate collection. At the top, you will see information for the rubric and context narrative, but if you scroll down, you will see where you will upload your student work artifacts. Be sure that the correct rubric has been selected and the appropriate work is uploaded for the correct student in the correct collection. If any of these things are done inaccurately, it will result in a level 1 score across the differentiated groups affected. When you are ready to upload, simply click Upload Artifacts for the appropriate differentiated groups. After clicking Upload Artifacts for the emerging student at point A, this screen comes up to choose the file to upload. You can choose to upload from your computer, import from Google Drive, or import from other services, or you can drag and drop the file into the rectangle. As you are creating and saving your students' work artifacts, be sure that the file formats are compatible with the Portfolium platform. Please note the file formats that are compatible with the Portfolium platform. Ensuring that you are creating and saving your students' work in these formats will make sure that you are able to upload the artifacts into the platform when you are ready to do so. If you aren't sure if your file format is compatible, you can check the link above or ask Portfolium using the chat feature. In addition to storing artifacts on your computer or in Google Drive, there are the other services compatible with Portfolium. These are the options that come up if you select Import from Other Services. These services include Google Photos, OneDrive, Box, and Dropbox. Now that the student work artifact has been uploaded, I can choose to save and score later or save and score now. If you choose Save and Score Now, the scoring window that allows you to look at the student work artifact and score appears. If you choose to score later, simply click on Score Artifacts and the scoring window will pop up. Please see the example for scoring a student work artifact. The artifact is on the left and you can scroll up and down to see the whole page. Listed on the right is the portfolio option or standard you choose for the collection. 2 boxes to check if you want to see the rubric's performance level descriptors and your reflection notes, and the clickable scoring line. Because I chose to open an ELA collection, there are 3 scoring lines I need to look at, one for each standard in the cluster: foundational, reading, and writing. At this point, some teachers find it most helpful to have the scoring rubrics printed and in front of them. However, if you click the box beside Show Performance Level Descriptors, the rubric information for each level of the corresponding rubric will be detailed under the scoring line. The orange arrows are pointing to the box you can click to see the descriptors and to where the descriptors will be listed. If you want to add reflection notes, simply click the box indicated by the green arrow. It will also be seen under the scoring line and under the descriptors if you choose to view those as well. However, these reflection notes are only for you, the teacher. Peer reviewers will not see any of your reflection notes, nor will they be able to use them for scoring purposes. To choose the appropriate score, click the number on the scoring line that corresponds to the descriptor in the rubric appropriate for this work artifact. For this student work artifact, I have clicked 1 for this student's foundational score because the student did not write actual words using phonics and word analysis skills. It is important to note that this example artifact and scoring rubric are from the 2018 and 2019 portfolio. The rubric descriptors for the current year should be used to score student work. Remember that ELA collections include 3 standards. By scrolling down on the right side of the window, I will encounter the scoring lines for the reading and writing standards. These have also been scored using rubric descriptors from the 2018-2019 school year as an example. Be sure to use the most updated rubrics from the current year to score your student work artifacts. As you can see here, the student scored at level 2 on the reading rubric and level 2 on the writing rubric. Again, be sure you are using the most updated rubrics from the current year when you score student work artifacts. Now that I have scored my emergent students' Point A work, I can go back to my list of collections and see my updated status. Because I have uploaded and scored one Point A artifact, I have a little bit of blue in my Point A status wheel. This is indicated by the orange arrow. My status is also updated to say in progress, indicated by the green arrow. Notice the status of my informational collection says not started, and I have no blue in the wheels around Point A or Point B, which means I have not started working on that collection by uploading or scoring artifacts. This is indicated by the blue arrow. After all Point A student work artifacts are uploaded and scored, the Point A circle is fully blue, as with the Point B circle. When both Point A and Point B are complete, you are ready to click Submit to send the collection in for review. You must click the Submit button before 11:59 p.m. on May 1st in order for the collection to be reviewed. If the collection is not submitted by that time, you will receive an incomplete and your level of overall effectiveness will not be calculated in T-Encompass. You must click Submit for each of your 4 collections. Should you encounter a problem on the platform, Portfolium provides tutorials on how to view your collections, upload student work artifacts, and scoring student work artifacts. These tutorials can be found on the left side of your screen. Portfolium also has a chat feature in the lower right-hand corner. The experts can help you with many technology-related or how-to questions about the platform. Find the link to the platform at the bottom of the Tennessee Portfolio Resources page on the Team-TN website, which is team-tn.org/portfolio-resources. The direct link for the Portfolium platform is edu.portfolium.com/login/growth. At the beginning of each year, district portfolio leads will create a roster of all teachers using the portfolio growth model. Until this happens, teachers will be unable to access the current year in the platform. For teachers new to the Portfolium growth models, links will be sent to your email with instructions to log in to Portfolium. Thank you for your participation in this presentation, your continued partnership with the Tennessee Department of Education, and all you do for Tennessee students.